And we're here with Connor Ryan. Connor, what is up?
Evan, I'm doing well. How you doing?
Doing great. Doing great. We're recording on Halloween itself. No Bruins hockey, obviously. So Monday night at least. I mean, Connor, you going trick or treating? Like what's the plan here?
No, I went to a party on Saturday. I dressed up as Ben Affleck getting his morning Dunkin'.
That
Showed
was
up with
cool.
showed up with, a couple of iced coffees. I actually had my Dunkin' robe. I think people didn't know that I was Ben Affleck though. It's one of the worst feelings, right? When you go to like a Halloween party and you show up with like, a little bit of a flourish. People are like, yeah, what are you supposed to be? And then
Oh,
you have to
oh
then you
yeah.
then
Oh
you have to
yeah.
you have to explain it and you tell them and like people are like, oh yeah, you're like, "Ah, this is a bad idea. People just
You're
thought
like,
I was
damn,
like
you're like, damn,
people
these
thought I was
people
just
don't go
going
on
as myself.
you're,
It's like
you're
no,
like, damn, you're like, damn, these people never go on Twitter.
it's one of those ones where then you start second guess. People thought it was just like me dressed up as myself, which I don't. Let me tell you, I love Dunkin' Donuts. I'm not showing up to Dunkin' in a robe. Not that much of a corporate stooge there, Evan. But anyway, it was still a blast.
Yes, good times. We had a Halloween party Saturday night. We went out Friday night as well. I was a very original costume, an astronaut. I was
Oh,
an
very
astronaut.
nice.
I got the costume on Amazon like Monday or
The day
Tuesday of
before,
last
yep.
week. Yeah, it was very like last minute, and I just needed something to come in by then. I'm never great at Halloween costumes. Maybe one of these years I'll do something. It's funny though. One of my buddies who lives out in Utah, um, he actually went as Ben Affleck as well with the dunks. Same exact thing.
There
Like
you go.
incredible. Down to the shirt. So I
That's a
was
risky place to pull it off to. Utah, I feel like it's not. You would think here more people would be cognizant of some Ben Affleck memes. Out in Utah, you're out in the desert, pal.
oh way out there. And I respect. I mean, he's from here, obviously. So like
Yes,
I
of
think it makes
course.
him feel like home. He was just home. Shout out Matt Bodette. And it's it was just such a surprising costume to see because I was like, oh my god, Connor did the exact same thing. What are the chances
It's
that
popular.
two people on different sides of the country would have the exact same costume? We live in a crazy world. Do you have a favorite Halloween candy? I know people are like, get to the Bruins talk, and we will. It's a good episode, but do you have like a
Halloween
favorite
comes around once a year.
candy?
We can talk
Yeah, we can
about
talk
this.
about this for
And
a bit.
also, it's Reese's peanut butter cups.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, you're compromised, right? You can't
I
even you
can't do
can't.
that. I can't. I used to be way back in the day. Reese's were very good. I have no hate against it, but I can't eat them. But I respect them. I respect them. I'm not one of those people who like throws them away. But when I was a kid trick or treating, you'd get the things with nuts in them. I wasn't gonna be like, do you have any nut free candy? Because that would be kind of,
That's what you sounded like.
stupid.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's exactly what I sounded like. But I would just trade them with my friends. So I'd give them like, my Three
there you go.
Musketeers for, like a Kit
Smart.
Kat or something, and I didn't care. It worked out great. I would say my favorite, honestly, it's like Junior Mints. Love Junior Mints when they're in the little like there's like three or four in the tiny little box that they give out. Like those, I think are unbelievable. I actually have Junior Mints. No free advertising, but right here, I had them on my
Very
desk
nice. Oh,
today.
very
So
spooky too.
spooky, yeah. The black and orange inside, which is always unsettling when you bite into a Junior Mint and it's gray and black on the
Yeah, I don't
inside.
like
That
that.
makes you feel really fresh. But Twix is another good one. Little
Yes,
Twix
a little
bars,
little
I
little
like those.
crunch to them. Yeah, they're
Yep,
good.
they work. They work. No, nothing was worse than when you go to a house and they had like the little pretzels.
Yeah,
Um,
no, it's like
it's candy, man. Like it's Halloween. What are you doing with pretzels?
I don't even like the ones that have like now like little sodas. Like I don't want to have like a lukewarm mug root beer.
No,
You psycho? No. I'll
no
go
thanks.
home and drink the drinks that are in my fridge, you idiot.
Yeah, yeah. Why do I don't need a I don't need a lukewarm, as you said, an orange soda or something.
No,
As I'm walking around.
absolutely not.
No, give me maybe some water, but not as the main thing. If you have some on the side. But anyways, Halloween's always a fun time of year. Actually, we will have trick or treaters this year, first time in my life, because back in Framingham when I was with my parents, we lived in not a neighborhood, and
They
then
lived in the
in
woods.
and lived in the wood. We did live in the woods, and then in college, we either had an apartment or our street was far away from or our house was far away from everything. And so now we're in near the city, and we're in a neighborhood and love kids. I'm excited. I've never given out candy on Halloween before, so
Well,
this
this
is
is this is what you have to know, Evan, is someone who lives in Southie, which has approximately like five kids living in it now, because it's
yeah.
everyone here is now 25. What you do is you get a whole bunch of candy for the off chance that the kids are going to show up. They never show up. But then you just have like 10 pounds of Reese's cups to yourself for the next like month. That's not true. It's going to be like about a week. I'm going to eat all of them and I'm going to pass out. But it's the best part of Halloween. It's like, oh, the kids didn't show up. Oh, twist my arm.
Yeah.
Works
Oh,
out
I
perfectly.
I got to do something with this candy. So, anyways, exciting times. Halloween, always a fun time of
There's 10
year.
people punching their wall right now, being like,
They were
listen,
so slow getting to the Bruins talk, but
we're
we're
very
here now.
sorry.
We're here
We're good.
now. We're here now. Anyways, two best teams in hockey, the Bruins and the Vegas Golden Knights. Bruins are 8-1, 16 points. Vegas 8-2, 16 points. And wouldn't you know, Bruce Cassidy is at the top of the league along with the Bruins. I think if you'd asked people before the season, I feel like they might have said Vegas would have a better chance of being at the top of the league than the Bruins through, 10 or so games. But both are there. And when I tweeted that out on Saturday, a question that a few people asked, and I said, this is a good podcast question. Would the Bruins be where they are if Bruce Cassidy was still here? And it's an interesting question because it's a hypothetical. And Cassidy was an outstanding coach. We were both, pro Cassidy. We were kind of surprised when he got let go. But I think it's safe to say they wouldn't be there. At least I don't think they would. And I think partially it's you got a new coach, the new coach effect. He's easier on the guys, I guess. I know a lot of people kind of wince when they hear that, oh, he was too tough on the young guy, toughen up. Well, it's like, well, they should probably toughen up, but they didn't. And you have the team you have. And DeBrusk is playing looser, and you got Nick Foligno taking a pie in the face in practice, and it's just they're doing their thing. And I think also they have a more emphasis on high danger chances, which impacts that as well. Do you think they would be still in this position if Cassidy was here? And by the way, I'm not dumping on Cassidy. I don't want people to be like, oh, Evan, do whatever the team does. He's jumping on Bruce. No, like I'm just saying, I think that's the case that we got here.
Yeah, no, and again, it's one of those things where if Bruce Cassidy is still here, I wouldn't say this team was going to implode or anything like that. Maybe they're 5-4 or something instead of just 8-1-0. It's one of those things where I think we've discussed it now after we've had time to process like the coaching change and all these things, and it's something where you can say that Bruce Cassidy is a very, very, very good coach, while also saying that the Bruins could have, as a team, benefited from just a change in strategy. And I don't even want to say voice, because it feels like it's now that Cassidy's not there, guys dancing around the locker room, or guys can like not worry about their spot in the lineup. Like, I don't know, look at Craig Smith, who's been in and out of the lineup and on the fourth line. Like, it's not like they're just like giving these guys all this rope. Even look at a guy like AJ Greer, who has 5 points already. He's still fighting for minutes. It's something where, sure, you can look at the guys that, like a Jake DeBrusk, who clearly is much happier now that I think there's been a change. But I think even the other guys who didn't have a beef with Cassidy, or just, weren't kind of ground down by his kind of delivery or his kind of high standards he set for guys. Let's just say like a guy like, I don't know, Taylor Hall or Patrice Bergeron, people that I don't think were in Bruce Cassidy's doghouse, right? Even if you had no issue or qualms with the previous coach, I think having a new coach in there and the excitement that comes with it, the change in strategy, the change in system and scheme. And it's one thing where I think just doing something different in the offensive zone, getting preached different principles, I think naturally just gets more out of you. You're more excited to get to the rink and work on these new drills. You're more excited to see how you can apply it in a game setting. And I think it's one of those things where the Bruins naturally got a little bit of a lift from it. And now you're just seeing that momentum carry over, where it's not just the fact that, the goals are coming. It's the fact that everyone's kind of contributing, right? You're 9 games in, you have 15 different goal scorers. Like, I think it's something that it's almost infectious, right? In terms of Montgomery's system, how he's approaching it, and just the fact that so many other guys are getting rewarded by it. You're just, it's just been this like kind of snowball effect so far that has really kind of carried them. And that's, you look at the way that Montgomery has kind of put this team together and the structure and the system in place. He kind of already mentioned, before the season opener, that they're probably 50 to 60% in terms of, learning the ropes of his system. And I think he said recently it was up to 77%.
Okay.
We're at a number now.
Great
So still not close to where exactly it needs to be. But when you have guys that are all contributing, when you're having, your defense falling into place, guys like Foligno, who are, clearly are value on and off the ice, that they're rolling. It's just something that feels like it's the momentum's, swinging so far in the Bruins' favor right now that, yes, I think Montgomery's helped a lot, but you also just seem like this team's on a roll right now, and they're buying into just a change in gear in terms of what they're looking for with their new coach.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think a lot of it, as you said, new voice kind of thing. As I mentioned, the high danger chances, switching things up in the ozone definitely helps improve. I will also say, and this is, out of Cassidy, this, nothing to do with Cassidy. Krejci's back.
Yes.
Krejci's back. Krejci being back is a huge part of it. I mean, I know he's out right now, and he won't play in Pittsburgh or New York, correct?
Yes. So he could be back by Toronto, but we'll see how that kind of goes. But.
Yeah. So, but anyways, he's back. And again, like that, Krejci in your top 6 looks a lot different than Haula in your top 6. And by the way, Haula did a fine job filling in the second half last year. I mean, he was terrific. I think Krejci's a huge advantage. I mean, I don't think that's a hot take to say. So again, you look at Krejci coming back. You also, I think there's a thing around this team where, and we've said this through the first couple of weeks, it's a last dance mentality with this group. I mean, I think there's a good chance this is it for Bergeron. That would probably also mean most likely it for Krejci, unless something weird happened or with Krejci. And that's not reporting, by the way. That's like just speculation. But I think they're buying into that. And I think they kind of have the right coach to usher that buy-in to that last dance mentality. And it's working so far. And I just, and again, that's not to minimize what Cassidy did. Like, again, if Cassidy wins the cup in 19, he's still here. But I mean, also you look at, the Bruins couldn't get past Tampa Bay. The Bruins last year out in the first round, like they just could never get over that hump. And I think there was that, even if you look at that 2019 season, if Columbus doesn't upset Tampa Bay, I know we're playing revisionist history here, but do they get past Tampa in that round? I don't know. And, does Montgomery put them over the top then? I don't know. But, Cassidy really couldn't get them over the hump with Tampa Bay. And I'm not putting this on Cassidy, but it's an unfortunate thing in sports where you can't fire the players. You can only fire the coach. And I think that, I'm not saying it was the right move, but it's worked out so far. Now, Cassidy's done a great job out in Vegas. 8-2. I mean, again, I don't know the ins and outs of Vegas. Like, I'd like to think I know what the Bruins, but I mean, Jack Eichel had a very nice goal the other night. I know that Golden Knights fans are kind of getting the first taste of Eichel, maybe not being the greatest back checker in the world. But that's okay.
But it's also kind of one of those things too, where you look at Vegas and how they're playing. It's the same thing where I think, yes, some of it is the natural lift you get from a new coach and the systems in place, but also when it comes down to it in terms of the on ice production or the on ice numbers, a lot of it still comes down to the players, right? Like you look at the Bruins and yes, they've had a lot of secondary scoring. Their defense, especially lately, has really kind of ramped up and they seem to kind of be settling into a groove. But you also have Linus Ullmark, who's been like unconscious. And it's the same to go with Vegas too, right? I think their biggest question mark going into the year was, all right, we have no goalies now. It's Logan Thompson and their defense is still kind of banged up. Like what exactly do they have? And they're leading the NHL. I think they're first in goals against at 1.7 per game. Right. So again, I think naturally you get a lift from a new coach, and I don't know what Vegas's power play numbers are, but I'm sure that's an area where they've traditionally been really bad. And I have to imagine they'll improve under Cassidy, but it all comes down to sometimes the players and who's hot and who's not at the time. Right. And so far, whether it's Thompson in Vegas or Ullmark right here, also helps out quite a bit with the bottom line. Right.
Yes. By the way, Vegas Boston Cup final would rule. That would be, was that the one you picked last year? Was that
the one I picked last year? The one I have now, the one I picked this year was Bruins Blues, who Blues kind of stink right now. They started off really good, kind of stink now, but it's a long season.
So I picked them against the Wild, and the Wild.
Yes.
Speaking of teams, I mean, we talk about the Knights who are great on defense. Minnesota on D right now is abysmal. What Minnesota should start doing is taking some athletic greens. That's what they really should, because our next partner has a product I use every day. Started taking AG1 because I wanted better gut health, more energy. I don't drink coffee or use caffeine because I wanted healthier, natural energy. And AG1 has been providing it in droves. Doesn't taste like it's super healthy or anything either. Has a mild tropical taste. There we go. It's back. It's better. It's either that or the Gillette parking lot. Either one works.
Both the same place, actually.
It really is the same place.
It's when you walk into Mick Morgan's is what it looks like inside.
Oh yes, that's the exact. That's what it's a POV. Mm-hmm. Mild tropical taste I actually look forward to each and every morning. So what is this stuff? One delicious scoop of AG1. You're absorbing 75. Yes, 75 High quality vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced ingredients, probiotics, adaptogens to help you start your day right. Special blend of ingredients support your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy recovery, focus, and aging, all the things. It's lifestyle friendly, whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, dairy free, or gluten free. Contains less than a gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything, while still tasting really good. This all supports better sleep quality and mental clarity. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with a convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with the first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/Bruins. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/Bruins to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. I will say, I think if when I hand out candy tonight, if I handed out Athletic Greens instead, I think the people would be kind of pumped about that, to be quite honest.
They probably know. They know it's a tropical taste. Like,
yeah,
words on the street now, Evan.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I think people would be pretty, an 8-year-old kid dressed as like Superman getting some Athletic Greens. I mean, he'd be feeling great the next day. So
absolutely,
I think it'd be a perfect fit for trick or treating. But anyways, one question I have for you, Connor, and I think we're gonna ask this pretty much every week until something changes on this front. When's David Pastrnak going to get paid? Because as it stands now, he is tied for second in the NHL in points. He's only behind Connor McDavid, and he's tied with Draisaitl and Panarin. And he's second in goals with 7. And he is tearing it up on a nightly basis. One-timers, dangles. I mean, this is as good as he's looked in a long time. And I believe The Athletic wrote something this weekend where Fluto said, no rush to sign. And I get why he's in no rush to sign, because every game, that dollar amount,
price of the brick going up.
And what do you do if you're the Bruins here? Because clearly, if he's no rush to sign, there is no hometown discount coming. He's not going to like produce like this and then go, only like $9 million a year. Like this is going to come in high. What do you do if you're the Bruins?
Like pray to every deity that he signs really soon. Like, it's one of those ones where this is what we talked about, right? In terms of the fact that the Bruins are going to be playing with fire once the season starts, because I don't know how many people had any bold proclamations that Pastrnak was going to take a step back. I think when you look at his natural skill, his level of play, the fact that he finally had a normal off season where he could actually decompress and get healthy and get right. I think it has not surprised anyone that he's over a point per game. He's near the top. If not, I think he's still maybe leading I think McDavid might have leapfrogged him again, but regardless, he's going to be on track for 100 points. He's going to be on track for 50 goals, all that stuff. He keeps up this level, if not more. And if you're the Bruins, every single game where he puts up 2-3 points, it's, once again, I think we've gone past back in August. We're like, well, if they sign him before, during camp, like get him at the same McAvoy deal, maybe 10. I think you're at 11 and a half right now. And if he's,
and
I think if you're in March or April or something like that, where who knows if they want to even talk then with the playoffs right around the corner, but you're looking at, are you looking at McDavid money? Are you looking at McKinnon money? Are you looking at 12 and a half? Like, it's one of those things where, the Bruins are already kind of on a slippery slope, and the more he produces, the more, it's one of those things where the Bruins they're definitely happy that he's playing at this level, right? You don't want him to hit a wall or get injured and be like, well, at least maybe he can like sign soon. It's like, no, you still want him to be a guy who's on pace for 120 points. But at this point, you're going down a slippery slope if you're the Bruins, because you clearly want to sign him. I don't think there's any reservations for the Bruins in terms of the fact that I think they're very cognizant of the fact that they're going to have to shell out 11 plus million. I don't think this is a situation like the Red Sox where it's all right, we're going to lowball you and then act offended and be like, we'll deal with this later. Like they're more than willing to pay up for a guy that's, they view as being a cornerstone piece of this team moving forward with McAvoy. But now when you look at it, the fact that there's no progress made, is it going to be one of those situations where Pastrnak is the main reservation isn't about the money, it's about just the long-term vision, which if that's the case, I don't really know what you do if you're the Bruins, right? Like, you can't trade for a guy like I don't know, like a Dylan Larkin or someone else like that. Like you don't have the assets for this year. You've already got a really good team now. So essentially all you have is the word of management to be like, no, like we are going to be committed to not rebuilding, but retooling, because I think for Pastrnak, right, he's already a superstar in this league. Wherever he goes, whether it's Boston or somewhere else next year, he's going to make a crap ton of money. The one thing he doesn't have is a championship. And I think if you're Pastrnak, you don't want to waste your age 26 through 34 years on a team that's either kind of treading water or, you know, in mediocrity. So it's a tricky situation if you're the Bruins. Again, would have been a lot easier if they signed him before the year starts, but now you're kind of in this holding pattern where it all comes down to, I think, what Pastrnak's thinking and how much you can convince him that this team's going to be a contender beyond this last dance kind of season.
And this is why he has all the leverage. And that's kind of the issue for the Bruins in the sense that, and we kind of talked about this over the offseason, you know, with his reservations on who his center is going to be. I think even just look past, like, you know, are they going to be competing? I think it's more even, who is my center going to be? Like, there's, you know, you get Krejci for a year, but if he goes, is it Zaka? Like, you know, like who are they getting? And I think that's a huge thing that's going to kind of hold over this team. And we've kind of discussed it a little bit where, you know, the future's unknown. And I feel like every season we say, oh, the next season they're going to have to rebuild or retool, or they're not going to be great next year. And we said that, you know, a lot of people said that at the end of last season. They looked ahead to this year and said, oh boy, especially with Bergeron potentially retiring and, you know, Krejci wasn't, you know, officially coming back or anything. And now, you know, their future looks iffy, but even if they come back next year, that's 1 year of 8. And I don't think the Bruins are any closer unless they, you know, draft the right guy or they make a trade, which again, I don't know how you do that. If, you know, you have to give up first, because I think they'd like to keep their first this year, given that they have given it up so many times. So again, I keep looking at, they don't have the leverage to just say to Pastrnak, hey, your center of the future is going to be this person, and they're really good. Like, again, if they got Hurdle at last year's deadline, right? Mm-hmm. No brainer. Like, you've Hurdle, but they don't have a center. They don't have a future center that you can pencil him in and say to Pastrnak, hey, this guy's going to help you produce. We're going to be closer to a championship. Because again, I think the core is, aside from centers, the future core is there. You know, Lindholm and McAvoy and Swayman and even Olmark for a bit, and Marchand for a bit, and Taylor Hall and Jake DeBrusk and Fabian Lysell, but you don't have a center. We've said,
there's stuff to build off of, but it's for them. It's literally going to have to just be like, take our word, which a lot of risk involved there, but take our word, like, so help us, we will get Horvat, Dubois, Clayton Keller, even if we have to give up 2 future firsts, like we will get one of these guys. Like, then you know what? Again, you talk about it, like, is it smart to give up future firsts when giving up so many? Not really, but hell, if it gets you a top 6 center with Pastrnak and McAvoy and all these guys, and you hope that one of these second or third rounders hit, and you have Lysell and Lori in the system, who, hell, you might have to trade them to get a top 6 guy, but maybe that's the dice you roll in terms of you know, retool through free agency and try to win some trades as opposed to anything else, which again is risky. It's not like a sustainable thing, but if it gives you an extra 4 years on the timeline of being a potential contender, maybe that's what you got to do. But
would you do that? Would you, if they said, you know, if you're the Bruins,
depends
and
on,
if you're dealing with the Coyotes, let's say, and it's Clayton Keller, and they say we want we either want 2 firsts or a first and like Lysell, or a first and Lowry, and you know it gets you Keller, and you know that if you get Keller, Pastrnak will resign. You're doing that.
Yes, easily.
Yeah, I think you have to.
Yeah,
like I just think it comes down to, like, you know, Fabian Lysell looks good, and that's terrific, but the Bruins are looking for a guy like Pastrnak for a long time, like a true goal scorer who puts up at least 35 goals every year, who's basically a lock for 40, 45. Like, those guys don't come around often. So I think you have to, whether it's Dubois or Keller. I mean, would like free agency? I mean, I don't know all the names off the top of my head, but I know Larkin's a big one, but I have a tough time believing that they're just going to let Detroit's just going to let him leave, even though he's captain. But I mean, again, I know they have this young core coming through. I don't know if he's the best fit for that.
Right.
You know, like, and JT Miller's locked up in that hellstorm that's Vancouver, and Hurdle's locked up in the hellstorm that is San Jose. But I think you kind of have to. I don't think you really have a choice. And again, that's tough because again, you're giving up first round picks or prospects, but I think with a guy like Pastrnak, it's you kind of have to do that.
Right.
Is there anyone in free agency? I don't know if you have the list up in front of you or you know, but like, do you think there's anybody there?
Yeah. Well, even then, like, I think you run into an issue with this free agency too, where I don't know if you're equipped to have the means to shell out 8-9 million when you've got Pastrnak deal, if that happens, along with the fact, don't forget, you have those bonus overages kicking in most likely with Bergeron and Krejci. So I think it'd have to be something where you ship out some money in terms of trading for another guy is I think probably what the actual avenue is, but we'll see. A lot of dominoes have to fall. But again, I think even if it's not a long-term thing, you got to do what you got to do to keep Pastrnak here.
The other problem, and you mentioned like March or April, if they are at that point, I don't know. That's because they're good this year. That's the problem.
Yes.
Like that's the dilemma I think they had with Gaudreau in Calgary. Now I don't think they expected him to leave,
right?
But they were really good last year. You can't. It's like the same with I think it was 2019-20. It was Krug's last year, and that was up in the air. People, you know, that team was a wagon, and it was like you can't trade him in the middle of a good season. Now again, if the Bruins are first in the Atlantic, top of the league, and it's February, you can't trade Pastrnak, even if he, you know, I don't know. I mean, maybe you could I mean, again, we're going so far ahead of ourselves, but if you're that good and this is the last dance and it's one last, you know, heave for a championship with Bergeron, I don't know how you can trade Pastrnak. I don't know. I mean, you get a haul for him, but I don't know. I mean, that hurts your cup chances dramatically. But anyways, that's so far down the line. But I think it's closer than people think because this Pastrnak stuff doesn't seem to be like, you know, on the fast track. It seems to be taking his time. And he can, by the way. There's no like,
right.
No one's, you know, it's his negotiations. It's his payday. So be it. But more in the short term. Big week for the Bruins. Top in the league, but they're at Pittsburgh, at the Rangers, at Toronto, all in 1 week. This is their first real road trip. What's your outlook on this?
Yeah, I think it's going to be the first real gut check for the team, right? And it doesn't help that David Krejci's out of the lineup, so you don't really have the full complement. Granted, you also still don't have Charlie McAvoy, who I think I would probably say is their best overall player. Maybe that's controversial to say, but I think
I don't think you're wrong.
Yeah, I don't think
you're not wrong with that.
But even if those guys, you're still missing those guys. The way the Bruins are playing right now, it gives, I think, you a lot more confidence in terms of the fact that they can kind of find many different avenues to win games, right? You can win in a shootout. You can hold and protect leads, as you've seen in the last couple of games. Olmark's been really good. Swayman had a really promising stat last week as well. So hopefully he's on the right track. So I think this is the first real test, right, in terms of, you know, how this team can go about, especially a lot of, you know, high octane offenses, right? Like Pittsburgh, as it is the case every year, especially early on, seems like they are scoring 6 goals per game with a bunch of, again, either randos or, again, you still have the same guys in place who are playing at a high level. Rangers still have a really deadly power play, which I think that will be an interesting to see how the Bruins PK does against them. I think they're second in the league right now, the Bruins PK. And then Toronto, which we'll see what happens. That team is not doing so well. So that game could either be, again, a great look ahead in terms of what awaits in the playoffs. In terms
could
of
be Sheldon Keefe's last game. How incredible would that be? I don't mean to get ahead of ourselves, but if the Bruins, you know, crush Toronto on their ice and then that's it for Keefe.
Yeah,
And I'm never rooting for someone to lose their job. Obviously, that's not it. But like, still, I mean, that would be.
It's a fascinating look ahead, whether it's the Bruins lose and it's, again, a realization that you still have some other big contenders in the Atlantic. And, you know, as much as it's very easy and fun to clown on the Leafs, all it takes is one of their many star players to go on a heater and all of a sudden a 7-game series gets dicey. Or it could be the Bruins smoke them with their really bad goalie core, and you realize that 1, this Bruins team is very legit, and 2, holy crap, the roster construction with Toronto is not great. Like, there's a lot of, I think, takeaways that we'll be able to glean from this throughout this road trip, right? Like, is Pittsburgh still a contender, which looks like they still are? How do the Bruins do against a guy like Shesterkin, who can win a playoff series by himself if he's locked in? What does Toronto have to offer? So it's going to be a great week in terms of not only just top matchups, but just see, how sustainable, how legit this stat for the Bruins really is.
Well, the Toronto situation is fascinating because, who
Yes.
could have seen the goaltending issue coming? But I also think
I was told they were going to win the cup easily. So
yeah, I thought that was the tenor north of the border. But I'm just I just they have this, star-studded offense. I think that can carry them. It's carried them in the past during the regular season. I just don't know how the heck that team holds up in the postseason. Because again, you're gonna have to get a goalie at the deadline. Like, that's going to cost you a lot. And there's not really, unless I'm forgetting someone, there doesn't seem to be a goalie out there that's an elite to top tier goalie that's going to be available. Maybe a John Gibson. But that's going to take quite a bit. So again, I just, they're not constructed correctly. It's that simple. But I don't count them out. Especially in the regular season, because I think that's a really bad idea. It's a good idea though. Going over and subscribing to Boston Sports Journal. What can the people look forward to from you throughout this week over at BSJ?
Yeah, we'll have you covered every step of the way for this road trip. There will be boots on the ground in lovely New York City. Gonna go get a little Sparrow, go to the M&M factory, have a blast, go to Madison Square Garden, have a great time. So we'll have you covered there. And again, even throughout these various road trips, we'll have you covered every step of the way, looking at the Bruins strong stat, how they match up against these other East contenders, all that good stuff. So please subscribe over at bostonsportsjournal.com. Want to follow me on Twitter? You can follow it at ConorRyan_93 for however long my blue check mark is there.
Yes, you and I might be on the same playing field soon enough. We're gonna have to duke it out without your blue check mark. Or maybe, we'll pay the $20 a month. That'd be genius.
Like a bunch of idiots.
Good asset would be like Toronto Maple Leafs level of asset management there.
Yes.
But anyways, that's Conor Ryan, Evan Marinofsky, Bruins Media listeners. Have a great rest of your week. And I hope you had a very happy Halloween.